We will now present a preview of the 2009 Tennessee General Assembly. Please hold your questions until the end of today's program. For those of you that are up here on the podium with us, if there is legislation brought before you or your committee this year of interest, we'd like for you to share your thoughts on that with us moving forward. And so without any further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. I would like to welcome and to thank and turn the speaker over now to our District 2 Senator and our Lieutenant Governor of the great state of Tennessee, Lieutenant Governor Ron Ramsey.
Thank you. We're already getting off on a slow start this morning. I don't know how y'all remember last year when Etta Clark was up here, the very first thing her belt popped open. But so Charlie, we don't want that with you, though. Okay, let me assure you that's not the case. First of all, I want to say thank you all to the ones in this room for, excuse me, for what y'all do for businesses here in the state of Tennessee and creating jobs. Obviously, this economic slowdown we're in, we're not going to be able to cut our way out of it. We're not going to be able to tax our way out of it. We're going to have to grow our way out of it. And you're all the ones in this room that can help that happen. I think if you look back over the last 2 years, by any stretch of the imagination, by any rating group, whether it is the Tennessee Chamber, whether it is NFIB, whether it is any other group here in the state of Tennessee, that the state Senate has proven that it is pro-business. Rusty and I were just sitting here talking just for a second. If you look at the little sheet on your desk or on your table, the legislative initiatives actually looks like the Senate Republican Caucus initiatives right there about exactly what we want to be working toward and what we want to do here in the state of Tennessee and continue to move Tennessee forward in the business issues. Obviously this year, and we've got a lot of politicians up here going to be talking, the overriding issue is going to be the state budget. So I'm not even really going to touch on that other than to say yesterday, actually even today, early this day, I didn't leave early this morning, up in Washington, D.C., they passed the stimulus package. I'm sitting here talking to Lynn Johnson and Jim Green and others out here, and I said, I just can't figure this out. I'm relatively good at economics and relatively good at budget figures, but where in the heck is this money coming from is all I want to know. In the state of Tennessee, it's relatively simple. The money coming in balances with the money going out. We're finished. You may have to make tough choices. We have to make those tough choices. But today, real quickly, in my 3 minutes that I have, I want to talk to you about something that will be coming up this year that's probably not even on your radar screen, but is extremely important to business here in the state of Tennessee. I would dare say that there may be a few attorneys in the room, but I'm going to even ask for a show of hands. How many people in this room actually know exactly how our appellate court judges and our Supreme Court judges are selected here in the state of Tennessee? Maybe 4 or 5 hands here in the whole room. It's one of the best kept secrets in the state of Tennessee, to be perfectly honest. And I didn't even know all about this until I became Speaker of the Senate and Lieutenant Governor. We have in the state of Tennessee what's called the Judicial Selection Commission. The Judicial Selection Commission has 17 members. The Speaker of the House appoints 8. The Speaker of the Senate appoints 8 members, and 1 is appointed jointly. And this group comes together and works relatively in secret and decides who are the 3 names to send up to the governor for any of these positions when they're vacant, appellate court judges or Supreme Court judges. Then the governor picks one of those 3 names. Now, our Constitution is very, very plain about this. Our Constitution says that Supreme Court justices in the state of Tennessee shall be, exact words, shall be elected by the qualified voters of the state. They aren't currently being elected by qualified voters of the state. They're being appointed, and then they go through this retention election that you all remember back in 2006 when we had that ballot that reached halfway across the room when you were there voting. So that's going to change this year some way or the other. I think last year I offered a reasonable compromise. The Bar Association, the trial lawyers, and others didn't go along with it. The Bar Association, not so much as the trial lawyers. I think I could have talked them into it on changing this system, that the way things work. And to make it even worse and how we've been left out here in northeast Tennessee, when I came to become Lieutenant Governor, I got to make one pick that has to be an attorney, any attorney I want to. Besides those picks, I get to pick an attorney, anybody I want to across the state of Tennessee, and then a non-attorney across the state of Tennessee. Besides that, the picks that I pick from come from a list submitted to me by the trial lawyers, submitted to me by the Bar Association, submitted to me by defense attorneys, to where it becomes a self-perpetuating committee. Now, I know when I start talking about that in rooms like this, your eyes kind of glaze over and you'll say, what the heck's this all about? Let me assure you, the people on the Supreme Court, the people on the appellate court affect you every day, whether you know it or not, and affect business every day, whether you know it or not. So this is extremely, extremely important. Okay, first of all, I do get to appoint a non-attorney. I actually appointed Steve Rose. It was my first appointment from right here in Kingsport. The first time since the Judicial Selection Commission started that anybody east of Knoxville served on that commission. We've been left out here in northeast Tennessee. Steve Rose, as we all know, or most of us know, passed away tragically, and now I appointed Tom Davenport to take his place. And so Tom Davenport from Bristol is now serving on the Judicial Selection Commission. I get to appoint one non-attorney. That position is now open as of the first of the year. I get to appoint any non-attorney across the state of Tennessee. And this morning, much to his surprise, I just appointed Miles Burdine to serve in that position. He didn't think I was serious, but I love doing this in front of about 200, 300 people where they can't say no, okay? There's no way he can say no. And Miles, though, will represent the business interests very, very well in Nashville. So I'm looking forward to that. So you're going to hear a lot about this year. The reason we can do something about it's up for what's called sunset review. If we do absolutely nothing, the Judicial Selection Commission will go away. We can go back to electing judges, and somewhere in between is probably where we'll end up. So I want to talk to you about this morning, so you'll hear about this as coming up. And because I figured the other guys wouldn't talk about this one in particular, I want to end by saying thank you. I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I want to thank you all, especially the ones here from Sullivan and Johnson County that elect me to be your state senator. I can kind of connect the dots on this one. If I wasn't state senator, I wouldn't be Speaker of the Senate, and I wouldn't be Lieutenant Governor of the state of Tennessee. So I thank you all for that, and you all have a good morning. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lieutenant Governor, for this and for all you do for Tennessee. I will say, for those of you that know me, if I have a wardrobe malfunction this morning, it's that I'm wearing a tie, because I typically don't do that. I would like now to ask you to join me in welcoming our new state senator from District 4, Senator Mike Falk. Senator Falk is the chair of the Senate Calendar Committee and a member of the Environment, Conservation, and Tourism, State and Local, and Judiciary Committees. Senator Falk.
Thank you. Let me first of all say thank you for my job. I didn't realize when the decision was made that I would run for the state senate that you were going to give me quite this much to do, but I'm very happy to be in Nashville and to try to be Lieutenant Governor's wingman from just west of his district. I actually do live in the city of Kingsport on the Hawkins County side, and am delighted to be Kingsport's resident senator. I am a member of several different chambers of commerce. As many of you know, I'm an attorney, and my law practice takes me all over the state, but primarily here in Northeast Tennessee. And I salute you for what you do and what you're going to do to help bring us out of this recession. Now, there's going to be a lot of talk this morning about money and the fact that we don't have enough in Tennessee. That's just the facts. And to be honest with you, the prospects of legislation passing during this session that has a price tag with it are slim and none, in my opinion. So that being the case, let me tell you what my focus intends to be for this legislative session. And that's something that all legislators can do, no matter how much money there is to spend or how many new programs might be proposed. And that is to keep our eye on those basic functions of government and to provide excellent constituent services. To that end, if you have pen and paper handy, let me give you some information. My Nashville number is 615-741-2061. I do return phone calls. The district phone number is 423-357-8088. In Nashville, the Lieutenant Governor has blessed me with an administrative assistant with 34 years' experience in the Senate. Her name is Dina. So if you call the Nashville number, you'll talk to Dina. Here in the district, if you call the district office, you'll talk to Kari, K-A-R-I, Kari. And here's my cell phone number. Please don't abuse it. 423-817-3145. I'm reminded of an expression I heard my father use many, many times over the years. He used to say to me, "Son, if you don't ask, the answer is automatically no." I'm not sure what I can deliver, but I can tell you this: if you don't call and ask, you're not going to get anything done from our office. So my message to you is very simple. During this legislative session, if I can be of assistance, if my office can be of assistance in trying to cut through the red tape and the traditional services that the state government supplies you, then please feel free to call. Thank you again for what you do, and thank you for having me here this morning.
Thank you, Senator Falk. You know, a senator giving you his cell phone number is kind of like that guy on LifeLock giving you his Social Security number. Speaking from District 3, please help me welcome House Majority Leader Jason Mumpower. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm back to Rusty Crowe. Excuse me just a second. All right.
You got the district right.
Okay. If you would help me, please welcome Senator Rusty Crowe. Senator Crowe from District 3 is the chair of the Health and Welfare Committee, also the chair of Veterans Affairs on Education, and also in Government Operations. Help me now welcome Senator Rusty Crowe.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Boy, I tell you, what a good crowd. You know, we were talking, Ron and I were talking about the 10 legislative initiatives as we came in, as he said, and it really does mirror our caucus agenda. You know, when we meet weekly to talk about the things that are important in keeping Tennessee on track. But you can look, you know, all the way over there on the left to the right and from the front to the back, and every one of the faces that we recognize has had something to do with making sure that Tennessee is on track. And boy, I tell you, if you look at, listen to CNN and Fox News and all the different channels lately, you can see just what shape the states are in. California and even Pennsylvania, many of the states are seeing deficits that range not just in the hundreds of millions, but in the billions with an S. And I think you can be so proud that Tennessee, thanks to you guys out there, you guys and gals that do what you do for business, Tennessee is in probably one of the better shapes of any state we could talk about from an economic development and financial perspective in this nation. You know, our rainy day fund is just about the size of our deficit that we expect. The TennCare reserves is around $500 million. Our lottery scholarship fund is, Ron, somewhere around $400 million, I guess. We have several funds that are in that shape. I think our retirement fund and the monies that we invest in this state are up into the 20 to close to 30 billions, and obviously aren't doing as well as they have in the past, but very solid and sound. And I think all of that is attributable to all of you and to good legislators that have looked with a vision toward the future. And obviously, we don't have an income tax. We don't. We were very mindful of the laws and the policies we put in place for business. And I'll tell you, if you look at Randy McNally called me last night, our chairman of finance. That's one good thing about our group, East Tennessee group. We talked to each other. I was on the road from Pennsylvania. I was in 12 feet of snow up in Sharon, Pennsylvania, up near Lake Erie, and missed the meeting we had last night at the racetrack for our credit unions, and Clinchfield Credit Union is one that I use in Irwin, and I hated to miss that, but the weather up there was just something else. I barely made it back, and as I was getting close to actually coming through Bristol, Randy McNally called and said, "Rusty, you got some great news. Site magazine, which many of you are familiar with, it talks about the different places in the country that are good for businesses to land. Site magazine ran a story saying that Tennessee was the best place in the country to bring your business. And not only that, but it also ran a story saying that Tennessee business climate was the best in the country. And obviously that's attributable to you, our Chambers of Commerce, our NFIB, all those groups that you deal with, and the activity that you bring to Nashville. Gary Mabry, Miles Burdine, all of you guys, Lisa, and obviously Deb Woolley, are in our offices all the time telling us this bill is bad for business, this bill is good for business. And it's that atmosphere that you bring to our offices that makes all this happen. So thank you so much for what you do. And I do want to say, as the chairman of the Health Committee, thanks to Ron Ramsey, and as you know, Ron appoints all of our committees. We're going to have a good session this time. We're going to miss Dustin Goforth. Dustin is now with Mountain States, sitting down there with Carl, and he ran the committee last year to the point that really he was the chairman. He did all the work and I got all the credit. And so we're going to miss him, but Logan is with us this year. Logan worked in Ron Ramsey's office prior to that, so give Logan a call in my office if you have any health issues at all. I'm really proud to see Mountain States and Wellmont working together as they are now. I think both chairmen like each other, thank goodness, and that makes for a good atmosphere for us. But let's keep all that camaraderie going and keep doing what you're doing, especially with those jobs killer bills, Gary, that you and Miles and Lisa and the others bring to our attention, and Deb, and we'll keep this your agenda, our agenda, and make sure that we move forward and keep Tennessee in the great shape that it is compared to the rest of the country in this weird economy. Thanks.
Thank you, Senator Crow. Okay, now we'll move to the House side. Speaking from District 3, please welcome House Majority Leader Jason Mumpower. Representative Mumpower is a member of Rules, Ethics, and Finance, Government Operations, and Health and Human Resources Committees. He also serves on House Professional Occupations Subcommittee and is a member of the Joint Lottery Oversight and Joint TACIR Committees. Welcome, Representative Mumpower.
Thank you very much. It is good to be back. I think if this is the sixth annual, the sixth one in a row, it is good to be here with you. Goodness knows I'm happy to be anywhere that'll have me as a speaker. And so I'm glad to be here. I do want to say that it is unique and grand to be able to follow three of my colleagues in the state Senate. We are fortunate to have an excellent group of senators, and something that our freshman senator said stood out to me as important, and that is that in times like we're in today, where everybody's feeling a little bit of a pinch, you may have a need to reach out and talk to a legislator and have them help you. So in the same spirit that Senator Mike Falk spoke with, I want to repeat his cell phone number in case you find yourself in need of reaching out to someone. 817-3145, is that right? And so if you're in need, Mike's the man. I'm just kidding. Certainly you're welcome to call me or any of us up here. I know that we will all be delighted to help you. Looking very much forward to going back into the legislative session here in just over a week, and looking forward to getting down to the issues that really matter to Tennesseans. We have a lot of challenges coming up. This is going to be a unique year in Nashville for many different reasons. Of course, the speakers before me have all mentioned, and it wouldn't be possible to accurately portray what we're going to face without mentioning the overriding issue, and that is going to be the state budget. It's going to cut a wide swath across everything that we do, and when you have a year like that, the key word is really priority. What are we going to make our priorities? And I think in the limited time I have, and with the audience that we have here, being Chamber of Commerce members and people who are generally pro-business, one that's going to be very important to me is while we're going to do things like prioritize education and transportation in particular, we have to do things, we have to make as our priorities things we can do to help business stay in business, to help business continue to create jobs and recreate jobs that will eventually recreate salary. And one thing that I think we can do more than any is enact important tort reform or legal reform measures, whether those measures have to do with medical malpractice reform or some other type of legal reform. I think it's extraordinarily important. Our state Supreme Court has handed down different decisions that are very punitive towards business and job creation. We want to do what we can to overcome those and set the record straight on behalf of people who get out and work hard every day to create jobs. You know, a lot of times critics will say, being pro-business is not being pro-worker, and I couldn't say anything, or pro-employee, I couldn't say anything further from the truth. You know, at the end of the day, being pro-business is being about pro-citizen, because all people really want is to be able to get out and have a job that hopefully they enjoy and where they can earn a living good enough to be able to go home and support their family and live the way they want to live. And that's what being pro-business is about fostering an environment where those types of jobs can be created. And I assure you that's what I'm going to be about, and I assure you that's what we're all going to be about. Again, reach out, call any one of us at any point in time if we can help you in particular. And we will look forward to seeing many of you in Nashville. I know, looking out here at the crowd, many of you at some point during the legislative session come down and see us. Look forward to you doing that. And I appreciate very much the opportunity I have to begin my 13th year serving you as a member of your State House of Representatives. Thank you.
Thank you, House Majority Leader Representative Jason Mumpower. Next, I would like to introduce District 7 Representative Matthew Hill. Hill serves on Children and Family Affairs, Transportation and Roads and Domestic Relations, as well as the Public Safety Subcommittee. Please join me in welcoming Representative Matthew Hill.
All right, I'm going to have to correct you just a little bit. Thanks to the efforts of Leader Mumpower and our new speaker, we've got some new committees that we're on now. Still on transportation, very happy to be there. But we have also now been placed on the Education Committee, and also as an officer, as secretary on the Calendar and Rules Committee. And so just to inform folks of that. Good morning to you, and we're glad that you're here today. Thank you for inviting me to be out. I think this is my 5th breakfast here, visiting with you. Very happy to be here today. For those that don't know, the 7th District includes the south part of Johnson City, the town of Jonesborough, and the upper part of Washington County. And I'm very, very pleased to be with you today. I want to say thank you to Gary Mabry and the staff of the Washington County, Johnson City, Jonesborough Chamber of Commerce, and also to Mr. Peterson and the folks with the City of Johnson City that are here today, and appreciate the fine work that they do as it pertains to business, economic development there in Washington County. I want to take just a moment to talk about education. We can talk about the budget. We can talk about, as Lieutenant Governor said, growing our way out of the situation we're in, which is the way that it's going to have to happen. I couldn't agree more. But I'd like to talk for just a moment about education. seeing that I will be serving on the Education Committee this year, we've been doing some more information gathering into that, and ETSU is in my district, and whether it be K through 12 education, whether it be the capital outlay projects that can be funded through the lottery scholarship fund, or whether it be higher ed such as at ETSU, we have to make sure that as we go through this budget process, we continue to put education first. And the reason I say continue to put education first is we have, I'm getting ready to start my 5th year in Nashville, and all of the 4 previous years we have fully funded K through 12 through the BEP program, the BEP formula. We have always strived hard to take care of those folks on the front line, our educators, our teachers, and as it comes to higher ed, to make sure that those programs that are needed are funded. And specifically, whether it be the nursing program at ETSU, which we've heard a lot about in recent times, whether it be the pharmacy school that we worked on for a number of years, a little while back, and is now thriving and succeeding. Education must have top priority. And I want to give you an example of why. I'm no longer the youngest member of the legislature. I held that distinction for a couple of years, and now we've got some other members that are a little bit younger than I am. And what's interesting is when I graduated from ETSU, my friends left. And what I mean is they left the area. And when I said, well, what's wrong with the area? We grew up here. We went to school here. Why are you leaving? Oh, we love it here. Then why are you leaving? Well, I'm going to come back here and retire. Well, that doesn't help us out very much. And I have made it one of my fundamental goals to make sure that we do all we can on the state level to assist you all so that folks my age and younger that are now coming into the workforce will stay here in Northeast Tennessee and not move off and take the skills that they've learned instead of being the asset that they are to our region here. And we've got a piece of legislation that I know Leader Mumpower has been advocating for some time now, and we are definitely supportive of, and that is to prioritize the K through 12 education budget and make sure that it is gone through first in the budgetary process. And some people say, well, why would you do that? Well, the reason is when you have lots of hands grabbing at the pie, we want to make sure the most important thing is first. And the most important thing is the education budget, in my opinion. And so I think that is an important piece of legislation and an important initiative, and hopefully we'll be able to do that. On all of these different issues that are listed on your card on the table, they'll, as they make their way through the committee process, they will be coming, if they make it that far, they'll be going through calendar and rules, and we'll look forward to being supportive of your issues, as we always have been, as they make their way through the committee system. Again, let me just say thank you for inviting me out here today. Thank you, as always, for giving me the information that I need so that we can make those pro-business decisions and try to be as helpful as possible and not ever hurtful to what you guys do here in Northeast Tennessee and for the business community and for the workers in general here in our region.
First, I wanted to recognize some of my Carter County people back here, Mr. Dale Bear, Don Hurst, and Larry Godwell, who come over from Carter County today. And, that's usually the first thing I do is look around and see how many voters I've got in my district. That's the only ones I see over there, so I'll take care of them. Several things I want to talk about today, and I think my colleague Representative Hill brought up education, putting education first. And I think each one of us up here, if I'm correct, voted for the new BEP 2 years ago, I guess it was, and which we all thought was very important. But that was the easy part. The hard part was voting for the funding. And I think maybe there was 2 of us up here that voted for the actual funding of the new BEP. So, for the first time, I think, in 140 years, our Republican Party has a majority in the House. Correct me on that if I'm wrong. First time ever. Okay. I think it's a great opportunity, and I know this is not a Republican rally. If it were, I probably wouldn't have been invited. But to keep your sense of humor, and I appreciate the humor my colleague, Representative Mumpower, Leader Mumpower, still has. But it's our time to show we can govern. The Democrats have done it for 140 years, and I think we can do a much better job. But I don't think we can do it the way they've done it, by not utilizing all the members of our legislative body. And that's why I had the idea of putting together the system, the committee system that we've recently installed, and to utilize all those members, regardless of party. We put the system in place. Now it's up to my 98 colleagues to show we can do it. I think this could be a great time for our party. I think once we get past this circus atmosphere that we have right now in the House of Representatives, we'll be ready to move forward. But education first, yes, that's the key. I think we solved so many of our problems through education, not only our economy, but our problems with drugs, our problems with litter. I was talking with our Sheriff, Chris Mathis. I was hoping he would be here today. He has started in Carter County a program for 5th graders to teach them about the effects of littering our communities, our highways. And education, get back to education, I want to clear something up on my educational background. I had a reporter, nobody knew me, right after I was elected Speaker of the House, and he asked the question. He said, "You have a limited educational background. Do you think you'll be able to handle this position?" And my answer to him was, "I was smart enough to become Speaker of the House after 2 years. When do you think you'll be Editor-in-Chief?" So my educational background, and I want to make this clear for the record today, I actually have 19 years of education. I spent 10 years in the first and 9 in the second grade. But the day after I was elected Speaker of the House, I had almost a 2-hour meeting with the governor to go over some of the budget issues. This budget's not bad, it's a nightmare. It's really a nightmare. Our doors are going to be beaten down in Nashville with different groups. Please don't cut us, please don't cut us. But there's going to be cuts across the board. We are working on some legislation to possibly do some funding, maybe some bond issues that we hope will lessen the blow. Some, but it's still going to be really bad. Education, K through 12, from what I'm hearing from the governor, will not be in his plan to cut K through 12. He's been a great supporter of our educational system. Not the same for higher education. But all departments are going to be cut. And I think a lot of people are going to be a little shocked when they do see the budget and how it affects their departments. An interesting, talking about cuts, I was at a conference for a seminar, really, for new speakers. And the speaker from the state of Florida, where I lived 15 years in Miami, Florida, he was very proud of the cuts they had made. They had actually cut $10 billion out of their budget in the past 2 years. And I just made a comment at that time that I guess you can be proud that you have to cut the budget. You did about $10 billion. But I have 3 grandsons that live in Florida, and in their classrooms, it's 1 teacher for 31 students. So I don't think we can take that approach and be proud of our budget cuts. I'm going to close and sit down so we can get to some questions. And I thank you. I ask for your support. I know I have the support of my community, and I'll need the help of all my colleagues, and I ask for their help as we move on. I know here in Kingsport, you lost a good state representative in Nathan Bond, a very, very fine legislator, but I'm proud of who you elected in his position. I have gotten to know Representative Shipley over the last year. He has already been in my office 3 times with his ideas, with his philosophies, and I can see he is in Nashville for all the right reasons. He is there to work, just like I roomed with Representative Lundberg for 2 years. You won't find hard workers, and I'm proud to be one of their colleagues. I know they'll be helping me, and I'll be helping them, and we're going to do some great things for East Tennessee with Lieutenant Governor Ramsey, myself, and Leader Munpower. And as they say, I hate to bring up this cliche, but I guarantee you the state of Tennessee does not stop in Knoxville now. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker Williams. Actually, a very good lead-in to our next presenter. I would like to introduce another new member of our legislation for this year, a representative from District 2, Tony Shipley. Tony is a member of the Transportation, Healthcare, and Diabetes Studies Committees, a member of Public Safety, and the Professional Licenses Subcommittee. Please join me in welcoming Representative Tony Shipley.
Good morning, and thank you for sitting and dining in the 2nd House District. On behalf of the mayors of this county and city, we thank you for spending your tax dollars here. Mr. Speaker, thank you for the kind words. Lieutenant Governor, Majority Leader Munpower, and members, it is a real pleasure to stand here and look around this room at a group of people a year ago who I did not know. And I am proud to say, from Tim Whaley to Bob, to Andy back there in the back, up here to the mayor in the front, I have made a lot of good friends. And of the things that have happened to me in the last year, that probably is the best. I have a lot of people to thank for that, and most of those, my chief of staff, sitting down here in front. Yes, I did sleep with my chief of staff last night. It's my wife, Susan. I thought I'd go ahead and admit that. These are tight economic times, but I think it's going to be a story of priorities. What do we look to, and what kind of vision do we bring to our communities? You know, I live in a community that is full of visionary leaders. I have a school board president over here, Susan, who is a wonderful leader in your community and has wonderful ideas about education. I have Dr. and Mrs. Knapp sitting down here with wonderful ideas about things we can do for the disabled. And speaking of that, out beside them is Mark Montgomery. And Mark is an exceptional fellow. And sitting in the floor beside him is his good friend, Theodore. And before you all leave today, I would like for you to walk up and welcome him to our community. Mark and I are becoming friends. He visited me in my office this week in Nashville, and I asked him to come this morning. Mark is a remarkable individual. He was unfortunately made blind by cancer when he was 2 years old. He is a practicing attorney and head of the statewide Independent Living Council of Tennessee. A remarkable person, and please say hello to him this morning. People is what government's about. How many people have heard me say something about State Route 126 in this room? Is that a secret anymore? I could not possibly be standing here before you today and be claiming any kind of accomplishment were it not for this mayor and the Board of Mayor and Aldermen and their unanimous endorsement of let's get something done. And that mayor and the county commission and their unanimous endorsement of let's get something done. Gentlemen, you're awesome, and thank you. Tim Whaley, his leadership of tying and pieces together and bringing this community together on this very important issue has been remarkable. And you are to be congratulated as a community, and I am proud to serve you. Other notables involved in this were Alan Hope, Bill Albright, and all their staff that were involved in giving us an opportunity to look at this dangerous highway, indeed the most dangerous highway in the state of Tennessee. Mr. Speaker, the most dangerous highway in the state of Tennessee. Lieutenant Governor, the most dangerous highway in Tennessee. Sullivan County colleagues, the most dangerous. It is the most dangerous road in Tennessee. And I intend to drive that home until we get our fair share, Mr. Speaker, someplace east of Cherry Street. And we're going to drive that home, and we're going to talk about that until somebody listens. One more person I want to thank. My person on the ground, my boots in the sand, Diane Summers, sitting right here in the middle. Hold your hand up. If it comes to roads in Sullivan County, folks, go talk to her, and I'll hear about it in about 15 seconds. Other initiatives on transportation, State Route 93, my colleague Del Ford's district, and mine, Sullivan Gardens, we're looking at that for some safety improvements. Also, some dangerous curves on Highway 36, Colonial Heights, headed towards Johnson City. We're not looking at new construction, gentlemen. We're looking at safety improvements. All I want to do is make sure we don't have a school bus get T-boned out there on the highway. Healthcare initiatives. Being on the healthcare committee, which just suits me to a T. I'm tickled to death to be involved in some really interesting things. Is Dr. Montgomery here this morning? School board member, Dr. Montgomery? No. I was talking to him yesterday coming in, looking at some of the problems associated with the importation of dental devices from China, which contain lead. We want to make sure that doesn't get in someone's mouth. So we're looking at the details of that without unnecessarily encumbering our dentist and making an impossible bureaucracy that we can't manage. Looking at a healthcare entry portal at the student level in our school systems. And all these things are simple management corrections and priority checks as opposed to new fiscal notes. Education and economic development. My good friend Mark is here this morning visiting with the NAT about what's involved in taking some of our disabled students and making it possible for them to enter life that you and I enjoy every day, independent living and having a job to go to. Targeted education and economic development, targeting some of our lottery scholarship money, existing monies to specific technologies that are needed in our community, workforce development issues associated with our people and how we can use that money more smartly to accomplish the things that we need to accomplish in our community. And my most exciting opportunity that I'm going to bring to this community we want to talk about, how many people here kind of heard the whispers that there's something in the air about coal? It's just being whispered. We're just now beginning to talk about it. I'll be meeting with other people in the community as we come forward. I have given the Lieutenant Governor, the Speaker, the Majority Leader a pretty good hint about where it's going. But for those of you who know Betty DeVenny, and as a member of my team, the project leader on this project, you know there's got to be something good behind it, but Betty's got her name on it. Public safety, another leader in the community, Mark Bowery, is working closely on issues concerning firefighter safety and protection of paramedics and EMS members. The last two things I want to tell you about, I haven't forgotten, because I talked about it in the campaign. Illegal immigration is a problem in our state. Nashville just turned down an initiative to make Nashville an English-only government. That may not be the way to approach it. It is a problem, it is a continuing problem, and I have a bill on my desk that's large. And we're going to look at it very carefully before we go forward with it and to see if it makes good sense. But we're talking about it every day to see if the pieces fit with the way we want to run our state. And finally, we talked about a cut on sales tax on food. And every time I say that, people shudder. I think one of the most unfortunate taxes that we have in our system is sales tax on food. It causes a lot of trouble for us. Not so much the people sitting in this room, but the people that can't afford to be in this room. That's something that we need to look at. We need to look at very carefully and see if it makes sense. I have a bill on my desk that calls for a reduction of sales tax on food in the presence of a surplus. It's my opinion, and I hope it is yours, that anytime we have a surplus in this government, it doesn't belong to us in government. It belongs to the people who paid the surplus to the government. And that before we take it and spend it and dedicate it to other things, that we ought to think about giving some of it back to the people that paid it. Well, those are some of the things I'm looking at this year, and we, in fact, have filed some bills. We'll be filing more next week, and I don't think I have to hand out my phone number. People have been buzzing me already, from 10-care issues to unemployment payments and a variety of other issues. So please keep doing it, and if anybody in this district or any other needs our help, please, by all means, call. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Shipley. Next, I would like to introduce from District 6, Representative Dale Ford. Representative Ford is a member of the Agriculture and Transportation Committee's Public Transportation and Highways Subcommittee. Please join me in welcoming Representative Dale Ford.
Thank you. I had to apologize first because I was a little late. I couldn't get my hair today just right. And it's tough. You know, your girls know how it is. Yeah, play ball. Matthew Hill, I have a couple of things. We split Washington County for one thing, but the other thing we have in common, I'm not the youngest one down there either. It'll be a while before that happens. And my chief of staff, Tony, I didn't sleep with my chief of staff last night because he's not very good looking anyway. Well, I am happy to be in Nashville. I enjoy working down there. It's the hardest work I ever did. But I have a problem with some of your statistics. Larry the Cable Guy is not even close to being as good as Yogi Berra at statistics, because Yogi said, 90% of baseball is half mental. So that's a better statistic. We have several things going down there in Nashville that I'm very interested in. Of course, everybody's covered all this stuff. Education, abortion, crime, immigration, everybody's covered all this stuff. And I'll be very brief. Tony and I are working on trying to improve 93. If we can get 93 extended to the exit at Fall Branch, that's going to be a great asset to Kingsport. That'll help Kingsport more than anything. And it also make that exit in Fall Branch, it will boom. It will just explode like Boone's Creek and all the others. Also, I have a project going trying to fix the exit at Gray and the one at Boone's Creek. We have a lot of industry that wants to come into Boone's Creek, but twice a day it's almost impossible to get on and off the interstate. So we're working on that now. And water projects, we have 2 or 3 going in Washington County, and thanks to Mayor Phillips and John Campbell and Ryan, we even have a water project going in Beach Creek. They've been trying to get water there for 50 years. Thanks to those fellows that we do have going there, and hopefully the ground will be broken soon. But like these other fellows say, we don't do a good job. I think for 3 groups in our state, we can do a whole lot better. Those groups are veterans, seniors, and children. I don't think we do a real good job for kids, especially kids that are poor. And we have a water project going in Washington County over in a place called Gregtown. It's kind of it's a depressed area out in the country, and those children like that, I don't think anybody over there makes over $12,000 a year. But we have a project going, we're going to break ground in the spring, and I'm very happy about that. Like these other fellows say, my door is always open, my phone is always open, time in a long time, everybody in East Tennessee, all the legislators, we're all Republicans. Now, if we don't deliver, guys, we're in trouble. So that's what we're all done to bring things back east of Knoxville, and I think we can do that. Thank you.
Next, I would like to introduce from District 1, Representative John Lundberg, Vice Chair, Judiciary, and Member of Commerce, Civil Practice and Procedure Committee, Industrial Impact Subcommittee. Please join me in welcoming Representative John Lundberg.
Thank you, Charlie. Usually, I hate following Dale forward, so that wasn't bad. A couple things just to follow up on some things that Tony said. Mark, aside being from, other than your attorney, he's an incredible individual. Do go up and shake his hand and meet him. Tony, I gotta tell you, you are doing a phenomenal job. Can I tell people about our nicknames? Okay, not mine. So I have a nickname for Tony because every time that I have seen him anywhere, he has been talking about 126. And let me say that I'm saying this in funny because I call him now Tony Rhodes. And everywhere he goes, he's talking about that. I make jokes about it. As he said, it's not something funny because it is the deadliest highway in Tennessee. He is doing a phenomenal job getting that message across to 99 people. Tony, proud to serve with you. So, Miles, congratulations. What was that? That wasn't a joke. Miles, I am very proud of you. From your latest appointment to all the accolades that you have. Frankly, the nice part about being the last speaker is I can keep it really short because truly everything has been said. I'll tell you if you want to hear about my legislative package. Here's the quick version. If you like to text while driving, I'm hopefully not going to make you very happy. If you like to drink alcohol in a car while somebody else is driving, I'm hoping to make you very disappointed. So, on the top 10 legislative job initiatives, I agree with everyone here. It's one that we embrace. I will tell you one. I look at the top one where it says, get the economy moving. And I've heard it for the past month and a half. And I'm soapboxing on a personal and philosophical note. I have heard one thing, not so much from the state, but from a federal level, that the government is going to create 4 million jobs. Folks, government doesn't create jobs, you do. And what I pledge to you is, and I think I can speak for everyone up here, I will do everything in my power to help create that environment for you to succeed in creating jobs, retaining jobs, attracting jobs. I thank you. I think we have leadership up here that has done so for the past, I won't go over further than say more than a decade, Governor. So, but thank you very much. Again, if you need anything, Jason, what was that number? 817? So, 3145. No, in meeting that, and it's true, everyone said that, and I want to do one thing that when I was elected some years ago, I heard from friends and others who said, well, I don't want to call you because I know you're busy. Folks, I asked for the job to take the phone calls. So when I get it, don't stop calling. And my cell is 677-7988. Thank you for what you do. Appreciate it.
We have an active, productive, and very positive relationship with the Tennessee Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Since we cannot be in Nashville every week, the State Chamber works with us to represent the views of the Northeast Tennessee business community. At this time, please welcome a colleague of mine, the President and CEO of the Tennessee Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Ms. Deb Woolley.
Talk about being at the end of a heavy-hitting lineup here. I think Dale used one of yours. Usually the last person up after a heavy-hitting lineup is the grand slam hitter. In this case, I think these guys have already won the game, and I'm the last sub off the bench. Charlie, thank you. And thank you for linking Charlie to us. He is our treasurer of the state chamber, so I'm very kind to the guy with the money. But he does a wonderful job in representing both business and us. Most of you had mentioned and seen the 10 for the 10 on the table in front of you. This is the group of initiatives that we put together this year as the Tennessee Chamber's legislative agenda, what we're asking these kind of gentlemen to do. We know it's a bad budget year. I think everybody said they weren't going to talk about the budget, so we didn't talk about it, but it is going to be a tough year. But like government, like business, has to make hard decisions, and it doesn't mean in a tough year we can quit making decisions. We just have to look at making the decisions that are smarter, that are better, that don't necessarily cost us money that year. And this agenda, I think, reaches to that. It reaches to how they do the budget process. It reaches to the commitment to education, that it can't become hostage to pet projects by being put at the end of the agenda. It needs to be handled first. Judicial reform is extremely important, and Ron, you mentioned it. Judicial reform without good judges to deliver it is not tort reform. So the first element of doing tort reform has to be fixing the judicial selection system, and Miles, that's on your shoulders now. Because when we do get good legal reform, we still have the judges delivering it. A lot of the other things on here have to do with definitions. Definitions don't cost money to do, but they clarify a system, they reduce expenses on business, and they make us more productive and more efficient. Workers' comp, there's several definitions that have been confused, made less clear by the Supreme Court in the last 6 months to a year. Those definitions can be clarified so that you as a business don't incur additional expenses. Same thing comes in the environmental area and some of the regulatory things where over time definitions, decisions have become murky. They can be clarified so that government is more efficient, you are more cost effective, and jobs can be created instead of running to Nashville to argue with some administrators. One of the things that we haven't mentioned, and it's going to be a challenge for all of us this year, is the Unemployment Insurance Fund. As all of you know, as employers, we pay into it. It's in heavy utilization right now. It is going down. It is very, very easy to come to us and say, let's just raise the rates and get some more money into it. The problem is when you do something like that, it doesn't fix it's not a long-term solution to the problem. It's putting a heavier burden on the industries that are still in business and still paying. So what we have asked the department for now are to run some varied models. Let's look at the most cost-effective way to us to get the fund back to being stable, that's fair, and that then we can look at the long-term solutions. I'm not sure when you're in a crisis and you're just trying to stabilize a fund, that what you do to do that is the same solution you want to make sure we don't find ourselves in this situation again. I urge you to take time to look at this. I hope that as local chambers you'll agree with it and work. You have sent probably to Nashville the most tremendous delegation that any part of the state has ever sent. I'm proud to know them. I'm proud to work with them, and I thank you for working with us and for sending us these guys. Thanks.